I hadn't planned on talking about my Kundalini awakening. Not everyone's cup of tea, for sure. Looking back, that experience and everything that's happened since has informed my coaching, my content creation, all of it. So, I guess it's a story that really needs telling. I'd been awake since 4 a.m., tossing, turning, trying to convince my nervous system that my bed was safe, my house was safe. The business had been struggling for over a year and things were bad. Like never been this bad. No paycheck, mounting debt, and no real end in sight. When you've been staring down the barrel of the same problem forever, you'd think that eventually your mind would tire of the catastrophizing, but it seems to do the opposite. Once fear and desperation form a pact, there aren't any words that'll break it. Our bedroom had become a shrine to panic. I closed my eyes and opened them again every single day in the same state of fear. We were going to lose the house, the business, all of it. I didn't really want to be alive anymore, not like this anyway. I'd done so much inner work in my recovery from addiction. This feeling of not wanting to die, but not wanting to live one more minute, was what brought me into recovery in the first place. And here I was, neck deep in it again. My wife has always been a pillar, even in the middle of her own completely life-altering struggles. She stuck with me through a relapse at the very start of our relationship. She brought me back to music during COVID when I'd lost that part of myself. Lately, the universe had been heaping piles of loss on her. Her grief journey had become a full-time job, and she felt a nudge to start meditating again. Like she always does, she asked me to join her. There was no real yes or no from me. I was apathetic, and I just followed along. I didn't have any faith at all, but at least it was something to do. At the time, we had a place in Florida in a 55-plus park that we were planning to sell. Not long after buying it, our park rent jumped almost 40%. So all of a sudden, we're paying more per month for a place we can't afford to go than we did for our mortgage. Up to that point, selling a Florida place was pretty much a sure thing. A worst case scenario was a break-even situation, but at least you'd get your initial investment back. First because of COVID, and then with the relationship souring between the two countries, Canadians started bailing out of 55-plus parks at a record rate. There were 50-plus places in our park alone that weren't selling, and many people were just handing back the keys and taking the loss. We had a trip planned to go stage it properly for sale. Our neighbor graciously agreed to feed and love the cat for us, and we headed out on a Thursday morning. My wife's not normally a book on person tape. Every narrator, no matter how Morgan Freeman sounds to her like the Peanuts teacher. Bad for vertigo. She'd been very strongly drawn to Rebecca Campbell, who kept showing up everywhere in our world, so all the way down, that's who we listened to. At night, in the hotel, we meditated to the sounds of synchronized chair scraping in the room above and competitive door slamming in the hall. Then, she went to bed, and I lay there panicked and stiff as a board all night. We got all the packing in Florida done by Wednesday night and were scheduled to head home on Friday morning, so we decided to just enjoy a day. Chantel really wanted some crystals to complement her meditations. Google found us a local shop, not too far away from our place, and we drove over after lunch. We learned later that there were two crystal shops side by side, and the one we ended up in was not the one we'd found online. We parked under a massive live oak and made our way inside. As my wife was browsing, I noticed a little space with a hand-painted sign, Crystal Throne Room. While chit-chatting with the guy fronting and facing the magic wands, I asked what the room was for. Eyes wide, with an almost confused grin on his face, he explained that the owner did guided meditations on an actual throne made of thousands of crystals. That sounded like as good a distraction as any, so I asked if I could book one. Unfortunately, they were very popular and always full months in advance, he told me, but I could ask at the desk. Rose at the front desk told me that they just had a cancellation that morning, and there was a Thursday morning slot open. Thursday morning, the last day before we were headed for home. I almost felt relieved, and something pulled at me, so I booked it. She went on to explain that a numerology reading was a regular part of the experience, and I could include that if I wanted to. No pressure. I didn't really believe in it, but something nudged me to take it anyway. Chantel and I headed out for a nice dinner and then relaxed in the lanai for the night. I made sure to get to the shop nice and early. The little bells above the door jangled and Rose greeted me with a wave. She gave me a short primer on what to expect and led me to the room and the big chair. It was cold, not air conditioning, but something deeper. Little strings of lights twinkled on the walls and the ceiling. I sat down, placing my feet on one of the biggest crystals I've ever seen. It felt alive. I sat for a few minutes, slowing my breathing and just trying to get in a decent headspace, and then the owner came in. I've always been a little sensitive to energy, and I actually felt her coming. The only other time that I felt this was doing a step 4 in recovery with a native elder. She explained what was going to happen, and when I told her that I understood and was ready, she started to chant. Almost immediately, a telephone pole of light and current came through the middle of my body. This continued for the entire meditation and in some form or another for months after. I had visions that would show up again in meditations months later and change my understanding of my family completely. As vivid as if my eyes were open, I looked down to my sandaled feet and up again to smiles and tears. The smell of rain and salt, bonfires and mossy valleys called to me that I was home. The images faded to the most intense light I've ever experienced. It felt like aloe on the skin after a bad sunburn. As the chanting slowed, everything, the energy, started to fade away. The whole experience was 30 minutes, but I literally went through entire lifetimes. When she was done, she gently asked me to follow her into the back. I had tears and snot streaming down my face, like I didn't even have the knowing or the energy to clean myself up. My breathing was staggered and erratic. I literally couldn't remember how to do it right. I followed her to the back. We talked for almost 2 hours. As crazy as this will sound, she said that I was so emotional at the start because I'd had some lives with the Fae and they were joyously welcoming me home. She explained that I have the master numbers 11, 22, and 33. She knew about my addiction specifically, along with so many other things that I never told her. When I got back to the double wide, I was shell-shocked and breathing totally erratically. When my wife asked me how things went, I had nothing to say. No frame of reference, no understanding. I drove 3,400 kilometers over the next few days in a total state of bliss and disorientation. If any of this made any sense to you or not, you can book a conversation on the website if you'd like to talk about it. There's some free tools there too. Next week, we're going into part 2 of Kundalini and covering the grief journey that led to the opening for my wife. See you then.